let's take just a few moments and let's have a little soul education. We are a dichotomy of body and soul. And when you think about the body, you think about many parts. There is hair and eyes and fingers and nose and lips and toes and knees and lungs and heart and liver and so forth. We have many body parts which make up the body. The body is like a basket word, and there's all of these parts that fit into that basket, and we call it the body. Well, the soul is just like that. The soul is a basket word. The psyche is a basket word, and there are many parts that fit inside that basket. Why is this important? Well, because each part, each body part, has a unique function that makes the whole body work. Well, the soul is the same way. The psyche is the same way. There are many parts that make up the psyche, and when you're helping a person internally and trying to understand, for example, the motivation of the heart, you need to have a good soul education, a good understanding of the soul, so that you're focusing on the right part, if I can say it that way. And so what I want to do here is just list some of the soul parts, the way that you would list the body parts, like I enumerated a few of those just a few moments ago. And so part of the parts that go into this basket word of soul, there is spirit and mind and conscience and will. You'll see all of these in the Bible, and they all speak to our psyche. Desires and emotions and motives and cravings and thoughts and intentions and strength and heart. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are a few of the soul parts that fit into the basket word of soul. Now, why is this important? Let me explain this in a couple of different ways. One, many of you have listened to me for a while. You've heard me talk about how I would ask Lucia on a regular basis. I would say, Lucia, how is your soul today? That is a common question that I have asked her for many years. And the reason that I ask her that question, how is your soul today, is because it's like a blank check question where she can just fill in the blank any way that she wants, because I would not know how her soul is doing, and I don't want to assume. She could be desiring something. She could have messed up motivations, or she could be struggling mentally, or she could be emotionally out of whack, and so forth. And so I would ask her, I said, how is your soul today? And of course, because we have talked about this for years, she knows exactly what I'm asking. And so she can answer the question according to how she is doing on any particular day. And that helps me to zero in on my care of her, because I can focus on the right thing. I don't want to assume that I know what is going on in her soul when I don't. For example, let's say that the person that you're helping has been sinning for a number of years, and they haven't been owning it. They haven't been walking out repentance. Then you automatically know. Remember, we know what's inside people, according to John 2:24 and 25, as I was explaining. And so let's say you're helping a person who's been sinning for a long time. They don't know what they're doing to themselves. But what you know is that they have been dulling and hardening their conscience. You see, you know what's in man. If you live in unrepentant sin and you know the conscience is moldable, then you know that they have been hardening their conscience, and you know that there's a growing insensitivity to the Spirit of God. They're grieving and quenching the Spirit. They're becoming dull and hard, to where they're becoming desensitized to the truth, and it's hard for them to hear the truth. And you see the precarious place where they are. And when you're focusing on the psyche, the specific part of the psyche that you're focusing on is the conscience, because this person is hardening their heart due to unrepentant sin. And so you really want to zero in on that aspect of their soul. That's why it's important to understand the concept that I'm communicating here. It would be no different if you were thinking about the body. Let's say that a person was having heart trouble. Well, you would not be focused on their ankle. You would not send them to an eye doctor. No, you want to focus in on right where the problem is, their heart, and you want to see what do we need to do to help them with their heart problem, their physical heart problem, talking about the body. Well, it's the same with the conscience, and so you want to dial in on the specific thing that needs your attention and the thing that they need to see in that moment, because if they continue to dull their conscience or harden their conscience, then they are really going to be in a precarious place if they continue down that path. Let's say that someone came in and they said that they had an emotional problem, that they're just very emotional. Well, emotions are part of the psyche, but you automatically know that you don't have an emotional problem, you have a thought problem. It's our thinking that creates emotions. Again, you have insight into the person's soul, and because you have this insight into their soul, you know that they have misdiagnosed themselves. They do have an emotional problem, but they can't take care of the problem by focusing on their emotions. They have to take care of the emotional problem by changing their thoughts. Thoughts create emotions. For example, if I walked around the corner and someone jumped out at me with a gun, I would have an emotional problem. That emotion would be various forms of fear. And the reason I would have that emotional problem, because I would be thinking that someone was going to shoot me right now and I'm about to die. And so in order to change my emotions, I got to change my thoughts. And of course, if I get out of harm's way and get into safety, then my thoughts are going to change, which is going to affect my emotions. If someone were to give you $1 million, you would have an emotional response. Why? Because your thoughts would be creating that emotion. And so again, understanding how the soul works. And again, there are motives and their desires, cravings, intentions, and so forth. Understanding these things is critical because you want to get inside their psyche, but if you don't have a good psyche education, you will not be able to help them specifically.